Hi everybody, this is a tutorial on how to build a secure operating system. We will be using Gentoo Linux as the OS in question. To make it as secure as possible, we will be encrypting the hard disk and configuring the kernel, which is kind of exclusive to Gentoo as far as I know, but there might be other operating systems that you can also configure from the terminal, from the kernel, but this is easier. To make it as safe as possible, we will be removing all the functions that we won't require directly from the kernel. That reduces the attack surface and makes it much safer. Okay, so to begin, you should go to gentoo.org and download the minimal installation ISO of Gentoo, the latest one. And then we can go to VMware or VirtualBox. In this tutorial, I'll be using VMware. So to start, we create a new virtual machine. And you can just take the typical recommended specs and continue. You can install it from wherever you've saved the minimal installation ISO. In this case, it's in my downloads. Next, it's a Linux operating system, so you can choose other Linux 64-bit. Here you can name it Gentoo Secure or whatever you want to. Okay, for the RAM size, I will give it as 4. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the disk capacity, so I'll give it as 128. Okay. And then we can go to customize hardware. Okay, so for memory, I will give it 4 GB. You can just drag the slider along to about 4. Processors, I will give it 4 as well. There's a network adapter, and you can also add another network adapter. You'll see why later in the tutorial. This network adapter too, you can specify it as host only. And that should be fine. Okay, so our RAM is 4 GB, we're using 4 processors, we have 2 network adapters, everything else is alright as it is. Okay, and the hard disk is 128 GB. Now you click finish. Okay, so now you have your Gentoo VM ready to boot. So let's power on this virtual machine. Okay, so we can press any key to boot. I just click enter and it's booting. As there are many points during this installation which will be long, like the installation will take long. For those points, I will. Okay, in this load key map, you can just click enter for default if you're using the US international. Otherwise, you can enter UK or whatever keyboard you have. And if you don't click anything, it's going to take the default, which will be the US. Okay, as I was saying, while there are installations taking place and they take a really long time, I will pause this recording so as to not make this video unnecessarily long. But I will not skip any steps in the recording. It's just during the installation, while I'm not doing anything, I will pause the recording. Okay, so now we're ready to begin configuring the operating system. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make the hard disk partitions. So we'll have 3 partitions. The first one will be the boot partition, where we'll set up the boot files so that the operating system can load and start. The second we'll keep as a swap drive, that is extra memory that can be used in case the RAM is completely full. and then we'll have the main hard disk portion. Okay, so to do that, we'll begin with listing the partitions we currently have, which we can do with fdisk l dev sda. So we just have the whole drive, 128 GB, no partitions. Okay, so now we'll start by creating the first partition, which is first we enter the disk configuration. So we go to fdisk, fdisk dev sda. Okay, so now this is the disk configuration utility. We can press N to create a new partition. Okay, so now we create the primary partition. The default will be 1, so we'll just create default. For the first sector, we can have from the beginning, so we'll just press default again. For the last sector, we want the boot partition to be approximately about maybe 128 MB. So we'll say plus 128 M and enter. So we have a new partition 1 of type Linux and of type 128 and size 128 megabytes. Okay. Now for the second partition, we will create again a new partition. So N. We will create a primary partition. We'll select 2. For the first sector, we can keep it as default. For the last, we want it to be about, say, 2 GB for the swap. So we'll say plus 2G. Yeah, and we have a new partition type 2 Linux of size 2 GB. Okay, now for the third one, which will be our main hard disk, we'll say a new partition, select P is default, partition number 3, first sector can again be from the beginning, and since this is going to take up all the rest of the space, we can just click default again, so it will take up all the remaining space. So now we have the third partition of Linux type 125.9 GB. Now these are all just memory partitions, but we want the second partition to be a swap. So for that, we'll change the type of that partition. So we'll click T for type, and we'll choose 2. And we can press L to see the list of all the kinds of partitions that it can have. So we want swap, and swap in this list is 82. It says Linux swap. So we click 82. Okay, so now we have changed the second partition to a swap partition. Also, we have to make partition 1 bootable, because that is our boot partition. So we'll click A to activate it. And partition 1 is the one we want to activate. So now partition 1 is bootable. Okay. And once you want to come out, like once you want your cursor to be free of the VMware window, you can use Ctrl Alt and the cursor will be free. Okay, so now that we're done, we can press W to save it and exit. Okay, so we can again see the partitions. Now you can see that there are 3 partitions. There's SDA1, which is the boot partition. It's 128 MB. There's SDA2, which is the swap partition, and that's 2 GB. And SDA3, which is the main hard disk, and that's 125.9 GB. Okay, so now we have to format these partitions so they are the format that we want them in. The boot partition we'll make X2, the swap we'll just mount a swap, and the third main hard disk we will format as X4. We also have to encrypt the third partition, the main one. We can't encrypt the boot partition because we can't decrypt it before it boots. So that will have to be unencrypted, and there's no sense in encrypting the swap partition. So just the main partition will be encrypted. Okay, so let's begin. So to format the first partition, we will type mkfs.x2 dev sda1 because this is the primary partition, and it's done. Similarly, for the second partition, we'll just let the OS know that that is the swap partition. So mk swap dev sda2, and that is done. And for the third partition, we will first set up encryption and then we will format it. So to set up encryption, we will use crypt set. So crypt set up looks format dev sda3. They should encrypt that partition. Yes. Okay, so at this point we have to set up a password for this partition, because every time you need to decrypt it, you'll have to enter this password. To keep it easy to remember, I'm just going to put in Gentoo, so Gentoo, and enter it again, Gentoo. Now we're just waiting, and it's done. Okay, now we have to decrypt it because we have to format it into the format we want, ext4. So we do crypt setup looks open dev sda3 root. Root in this case is the name of the mountable device. So that's what it will be called from now on. This will be the root folder from the OS perspective. Again, we'll need the passphrase to decrypt it. So Gentoo, and it's decrypted. Now we can format it. So mkfs.ext4, which is the format we want. Dev mapper root. Now it's mapped as the root device. Sorry, the root folder. Okay. You press yes. Okay, so now that's done. Now we can mount all the partitions. We'll start by mounting the swap. So we do swap on dev sd2. That's done. Now we mount the root. So mount dev mapper root mnt Gentoo. Oh, I made a mistake. What did I do wrong? Right. So we want to mount mnt Gentoo into this directory. I missed a space. Okay, so that's done. Now we'll change the directory to mnt Gentoo because that's where all the installation files are from the live CD, the ISO that we're reading right now. So what we're doing basically is we're mounting the new directory, the root folder we made, into the mnt Gentoo. Okay, so now we're in mnt Gentoo. Okay, so now what we do is we have to extract stage 3, which I'll show you how to do in a moment. Okay, so you know how all Linux operating systems like Ubuntu and all have these default folders in their root, like etc, bin, bash, all of those. So we need those in our operating system as well. So we're going to download those first. To do that, we first go to the Gentoo website. We can go there this way. Links https://gentoo.org/downloads. Okay, so that's links https://www.gentoo.org/downloads. Okay, now we're looking for stage 3. This is a 64-bit machine, so we're looking for stage 3 AMD 64. If you have a 32-bit, you should look for that one. Okay, so there's stage 3 here. Stage 3 for AMD 64. Yeah, okay, so this is the one I want. And I'll save it. Stage 3 AMD 64 2020-06. Okay, so it's downloading now. Okay, it's done. So now we can press Q to exit the browser. Okay, so back in the terminal, and now we have to extract what we just downloaded, the stage 3 zip file, or tar file in this case. Okay, so we do tar xvpf stage 3 d64, which is the name, this is the name of the file. It was 2020. Hold on, I have to see what the name of the file is. Okay, so there it is. Now we can see it easier. Tar xvpf stage 3 and D64 2006 18 T 170443 dot tar dot. Okay, so it's extracting now. Okay, so I'm going to pause this recording until it's done extracting, and as soon as it's done, I'll start recording again. Okay, so now it's done extracting. We can delete the original tar file, so we'll just do rm and that. Okay, so if we do ls now, you'll see that all the folders usually find in a Linux installation are here. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to chroot. Before that, we have to first copy all the folders into our installation. So, for example, to begin, we'll copy the DNS configurations to the new system, okay, to our MNT Gentoo. So, how do we do that? Is we copy from etc resolve.com to MNT Gentoo etc. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I added an E. My bad. So, okay. That's done. Okay. Now we'll mount the process systems, the system systems, and the development folders. So the proc, and dev folders. So how we do that is we just use mount types proc mt gentoo proc. Okay. I've made a mistake here. To do slash. Okay. Bad usage of mount. Oh, sorry. I missed another. And that's done. So now we mount byte. Or bind sys sys to MNT Gentoo sys. So we're just copying it from the ones we just extracted to the root folder we've made. That's done. And mount look our slave to now the same thing for the dev folder. So bind dev MNT Gentoo dev and mount make our slave MNT Gentoo dev. Okay, and that's all done. Now we can chroot. So what chroot is, we're changing the root from the bin bash to MNT Gentoo. Okay. So chroot MNT Gentoo bin bash. So I should add that wrong. We're changing from MNT Gentoo to bin bash. Okay, the root is now bin bash. So now we refresh our profile. So source etc profile. And we can mount the boot partition. So mount dev sd1 as boot. That's done too. Okay, so now most of the setup, the installation, the initial setup is done. So now we have to get ready to install new packages. So for the initial synchronizing of the system, that is like with time and stuff, we need the portage repository. So to do that, we first do merge web sync. Okay, so now we just wait until it grabs all the files it needs. So again, I'll pause the recording until WebRSync is done. Okay, so the merge WebRSync command is completed. Now we can set up a time zone, which will be in etc time zone. So we can actually just check that out. Sorry. And where is time zone? Doesn't exist. Okay, so we'll just make it. So we'll enter our time zone. So Europe and wherever you may be. For example, let's say France. And we'll enter that into ETZ time zone. Alright, that's done. And now we'll update it with merge again. So merge config time zone data, and that's done. Okay, so now we can get ready to install the Gentoo kernel. So first we download the sources. So merge again, Gentoo sources. Now it's installing. Okay, so we're done with the sources. So now we have to change the directory to the kernel sources. So in this case, we do cd user source Linux. Okay, so now we're here. Let's cut all these files. And now we run the kernel configuration manager, which we do with the command make menu config. Okay, so this is the kernel configuration manager. Now since we have encrypted the main hard disk portion, partition 3, we have to make sure that the cryptographic features are enabled. So for that we can go to general setup is here, and we look for initial RAM file system. And this part can be a little time consuming because you have to look for things, and here it is, initial RAM file system and RAM disk. That's already selected, so that's good for us. Now we can go back. We can look for enable loadable module support. That's also selected. Then we can look for device driver. Device drivers are here. Okay, in the device drivers we look for multiple device driver support. Here it is. It's also selected. You can go into that and look for device mapper support. That's selected. And crypt targets support. Here, crypt target support. So we select this. To select it, you can use your space bar. Okay, so that's done. Then we'll go to file systems. In file systems, we look for second extended FS support. That's here. That's done. And fuse, which is FUSE. Here it is. File system and user space support. So that's done as well. Save that. Now we look for cryptographic API. Here, selected, so we go into it. We look for XTS support. XTS support. Alright. SHA-224 and SHA-256. Where is that? 256, 24, and 256. We want the digest algorithm. Okay, that's done. Then we look for AES cipher algorithm. There it is, that's already selected. User space interface for hash algorithms. User space interface for hash algorithms. There it is. Okay, now that's selected. And user space interface for symmetric key cipher algorithms. And that's selected as well. That's all we need. So we'll save. These are the general settings you need. Now, in case of each virtual machine you're running, which platform, suppose VirtualBox or VMware, there'll be different drivers you need. In case of VMware, there are a couple more things which you need. Okay, so we'll go to processor types and features, and we'll add Linux guest support. Here it is. We go to device drivers. and then we'll go to miscellaneous devices. I think it should be at the bottom. Miscellaneous devices. Oh, miscellaneous devices is here. Okay, and we look for VMware VMCI driver, this one, and we look for VMware balloon driver. Yes. Okay. So then we can go to SCSI device support. That should be here as well. Yeah. Here we set up SCSI low level drivers. And that's here. Alright. And inside low level drivers we select VMware PV SCSI drivers. VMware PV. Yes. Okay. Now we look for Fusion MPT device support. Fusion. Here, Fusion MPT device support. And in that we look for Fusion MPT SCSI host for SPI. Okay. So that's done. Now we look for I2C support. That's here. I2C hardware bus support here. And we look for Intel PII X4. Where is that? Yeah, Intel PII X4 incompatible. Okay. Now we look for network devices support. Should be here. Yeah, network device support. We look into that and we check for Ethernet device support. Ethernet driver support. Yeah, sorry. Ethernet driver support is selected. In Ethernet driver support, we look for AMD devices. AMD devices is selected. AMD PC net. Okay. AMD devices is selected and AMD PC net. PCI support. That's selected as well. Okay. So we exit and then in network device support we also have to look for VMware VX3. Yes, this one. VMware VMX Net 3 Ethernet driver. Okay. Now that's done. We go to graphics support. we're looking for graphic support. Graphic support is here. We're looking for a DRM driver for VMware Virtual GPU. Okay, DRM driver VMware Virtual GPU. That's that. And then we go to network support. Network. Okay. Networking support. So here is networking support. We look for networking options and then we look for virtual circuit protocol. Virtual circuit protocol, then we look for virtual circuit monitoring interface, which is selected. Then we look for VMware VMCI transport for virtual circuits. And I think that is all we need. So we save it and we exit. Okay, so we're back at the terminal. So now we have a few commands to run. We first run make. This is when we are installing a kernel now that we've configured it. So make. This takes quite a while. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the recording until the make command is done, and then I'll continue recording once it's done. Okay, now that the make command is completed, we are going to make the modules. Again, this will also take quite a while, so I'll pause the recording and I'll continue once this command is completed. Oh no, this took almost no time. Alright. So now we'll compile the modules, and we'll do that by make modules install. We should compile all the modules. That's done. And now we'll compile the kernel, so just make install. And that's done. Okay. So just the make command will take a very long time, the first one. And that's normal, so just expect that. Okay. So now that the kernel is compiled, let's set up the boot process. So we'll configure the initramfs. So initially, since we're using encryption, we have to let the boot process know that they'll have to use crypt setup to unlock the first try, or like to provide us the option of unlocking the first try. So we have to set up the use crypt setup flag in the make.conf file. Okay, so how we do that is we first open that. So nano etc portage make.conf. Okay, so now we just have to add the use crypt.set. So we do use crypt setup, and that's it. So now it knows that it has to use crypt setup. So we'll save it. Then we have to install Gentoo. Okay, so how we install Gentoo is we use emerge again. Emerge Gentoo, and that should do it. Okay, so before we do that, let's globally disable firmware because we don't think we'll be using that. So let's go back to the make.conf file, and here when you want to disable something, you just use a dash. So dash firmware. This means for every package that is being run on this OS, firmware will be automatically disabled. So save that, and then yes, and let's run emerge and kernel. Okay, so now it's doing that. Okay, so gen kernel is installed. We can now build the initramfs, which handles the boot process. So gen kernel, oops, install intram. Okay. Okay, I'll pause the recording until this is completed, and then I'll start recording again once it's done. Okay, so we just got done with merging gen kernel, right? No, with installing initramfs. Okay, so now we're going to let the OS know where the partitions are and where to map them, like what is the directory, like which is the boot directory, which is the home and root partitions and all of that. So that is in fstab, so we write nano etc. fstab. Okay, so here we add dev sda1, which is the boot partition, as boot. Format is x2, defaults node 02. Then we do the swap, which is dev sda2. It doesn't have a root, so it's swap. Here we go. And then we have dev mapper root, which is the main hard disk. Root is just slash, and then its format is ext4. So no wait time 01. So save that, and fstab is saved. Okay, now we had reinstall grub. Grub is a boot manager, which you might be familiar with if you've used Ubuntu or some other Linux operating systems. So again, we run with emerge pretend verbose grub. Now pretend, make sure that the command is not run, it just shows us the result and it doesn't actually execute this command. So these are the dependencies, and now we can see that there's fonts, NLS and themes in the use flags, and we don't want them. We just want the grub package. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the portage file. So nano etc. portage package dot use, and here we'll just says boot grub. We remove fonts, remove MLS, and remove themes. Save that. Portage package.use / yeah. Okay, so that's done. Also, now that we're using fdisk to keep our boot record, we don't need UEFI or anything else, so we cancel that as well. We remove it. We do that by setting the grub platform to PC. So we go to /etc/portage/make.conf, and here we say grub platforms is equal to just PC. So now it's going to remove the use of UEFI and all of those flags. Okay, so we're done. We save it, and that's done. Now we can again run this to see what's left. See, now it says the grub platform is only PC. It's removed EFI 32, EFI 64, none of the UEFI, and none of the fonts or themes. All of that's removed. Perfect. Okay, so we emerge grub now. Okay, and again I'll pause the recording until it's completed. Okay, now that grub's been installed, we can configure grub. So to do that, we go open nano default grub, and here in the command line Linux, which is here, we add encrypt root dev sda3. So this is the root and it's encrypted. Okay, so we've uncommented that, and that's it here. Hold on one sec. I didn't save that, so I'll just type it again. Encrypt root dev sda3. Okay, so grab command line Linux has now been including devsda3, the encrypted partition. Now we install the bootstrap code for grub. So we do grub install dev sda, so it installs in the boot partition. Okay, so, and it's done. Then we configure that. So grub config boot grub dot configuration. Okay, so that's grub config /o boot grub.ch, and that's done as well. You can see the init and everything is done. The images are set up. So that's it for grub. Now we set up the network configurations. So for that we first install DHCPD. So emerge DHCPD. Oh, I made a typo, I'm sorry, and merge DHCPCD. Okay, so that's done. Now we'll see the names of the network adapters we have on this OS. So if config, and we've got two. That's ENO16777736 and ENO33554960. Okay, so what we have to do now is we have to edit the network configurations file for both of these adapters. So I'll show you how that's done. First we go to etc.t/net and we have to enter the files. But for this we need the adapter name. So hold on, I'll just get out of this, and if config, you have to make a list of these names. So I'm just going to write them down. One is this will be unique to you, so please check your own. You can't copy this directly, the names. 7777 36, I believe that's 47. ENO16777726, yes. And the other one is ENO33554960. ENO33554960. Okay, so we've got that. Now we go back to here and we write config underscore the name of the adapter. So ENO16777736, right? And in the next line we write config the next adapter, which was ENO33554960. So you put in your adapter's names. If you have one or more than two, you can, each adapter has to come on a new line. Okay, so that's it. We save it. Oh, I made another mistake. Okay, so what else we have to do is go back there. At the end of these, you have to mention that it has to use DHCP. So DHCP is equal to DHCP. Okay, so both are equal to DHCP. Yeah, now it's right. Now I'll just check if config again. 164736. 164736. 33551. Yeah, okay, so it's all correct. And now if we don't want to manually start the adapters at each boot. We want it to start automatically every time we boot up. So we have to change the init.d file. So first we change directory to etc init.d. Now we're here. We do net.l net dot, and now you add the adapter names again. So one is ENO16777736. Yeah. And then it's net.lo, net. Yeah. And now we update it. So rc update add net.eno 6777736. rc update add net dot the adapter name. Alright, and then we say default. Now it's running at default. Now we do the same thing for the second adapter. So let the second adapter name is 3355 4960, and we RC updated 3355 4960, also default. Okay, so now both adapters will start up each time the computer boots up. Okay, next we have to set up a hostname. So we open nano etc conf.t hostname. So we've got hostname localhost. We'll add one more. Hostname is Gentoo Secure, let's call it. Okay, so we've got the hostname Gentoo Secure, and we'll edit the host file as well. So nano /etc/hosts. So now we've got these two. We'll add one more. Here and Gentoo Secure, the name of the host. We added Gentoo Secure. Alright, so that's done. Let me just check if I spelled it right in the other file as well. Gentoo Secure. Yeah. Gentoo Secure. Okay. So we've added it in the host file as well. Okay. Now if you want to change the key maps, you can do nano etc conf.t key maps. This is to change how your keyboard is configured if you have a different keyboard, such as a UK keyboard or an AZERTY keyboard or any of that. So you can go here, and this key map, it says US, you can change it to UK or France or IN or wherever. But in my case, I have a US keyboard, so I'm going to keep it the same. Okay, so now I'm going to install cron and log managers, which are important to log the system. So for that, we first have to download and install them. So emerge crony scalogd. It's emerge CRONIE, and then scalogd. Okay, so they're installed. Now we want to make sure that they start up every time the computer boots up. So we're going to do rc update. We'll add crony default. Yep, and the same thing for syscalogd. That's done too. Okay, now let's add a user because we only got the root user currently. So we go user add users we audio, and we let them add pin bash. It's called the user1. Okay, and then we've got to add a password for user1. Let's just make that Gentoo because it's easy to remember. Gentoo. Okay, so our user's name is user1 and the password is Gentoo. And now we have to set a password for root. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to write Gentoo, but it should be something different and more secure, preferably. Okay, so now we've finished configuring everything. I'm going to take a snapshot of this VM before we reboot it in case I've made a mistake somewhere during this installation and configuration. So I'm going to take a snapshot, and in case something goes wrong and it doesn't work right, I can revert back to the snapshot and configure it from wherever I made a mistake. If you don't, you might have to start again from the beginning if the reboot doesn't work out right. So I'm going to name it Gentoo Secure Snapshot 1, and I want to take a snapshot. So you can see here that it's saving. This usually takes some time, so I'm going to pause this recording again until it's done saving the state, and then I'll continue recording before I reboot. Okay. Okay, so now that the snapshot's been completed, we're going to exit from the ch root and exit. And we're going to reboot. Gentoo Linux. It should ask us for the password to decrypt the partition, third partition. Yeah. So the password I kept was Gentoo. Okay, so it's decrypted. And these are the network adapters. This is the second network adapter. Alright, so now we have to put the login. So one login was user1. His password was also Gentoo. And there you have it. We have a working Gentoo OS. To see if our network adapters are working, we can do a ping. Let's ping google.com. And then 0 packet loss. So, yeah, our network adapters are working. Started on boot. We didn't have to start them manually. And this is your working Gentoo OS. So then, yay, the installation works. We have secure OS. Save that, and that's it. Got it? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and you can obviously edit a lot more things. You can even add a desktop interface if you want to. There's many lightweight desktop interfaces such as there's i3, there's RxD, there's GNOME, there's many interfaces you can add, and maybe later I'll make a tutorial on that. But I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll try to resolve it for you. Thank you. Have a nice day.